Florida, bringing us one step closer to launch. The work we're doing now to prepare to return to the moon will set us on a path for one day exploring Mars and even further into the solar system. And when we go, we're going together with our commercial and international partners. This summer, we were so excited to welcome Slovakia as a member of the Artemis Accords. Working together, we can go further and create a safe, transparent environment that facilitates exploration, science, and commercial activities for all of humanity. When I flew on the International Space Station in 2014, the thing that most struck me as a human being was the magnificent beauty of our planet. It didn't matter whether we were coming up over the west coast of the United States of America or crossing over France. I loved it especially at night, looking down on the city of Paris, the entire outline of Italy and the Mediterranean Sea, all of Europe, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and then off to the east, usually into the rising sun. There is no moment that you don't look down on our planet and want to reach for a camera to take a picture. It is absolutely breathtaking. No photo does it justice when you get to look down at planet Earth with your own eyes and your brain and all of your human experiences, all the places you've been, the people you've met, and the cultures you've seen. It really makes you feel like we are on one magnificent living Earth. Though astronauts take on unprecedented missions, we always do it with a team and by testing and preparing. By working together and daring to innovate, we can shape the future positively. Just as astronauts venture into the vastness of space, we can all boldly step forward into our future, united in our mission to make a better world for generations to come. Thank you.
Dámy a páni, pán Michal Brichta je riaditeľom Slovak Space Office. Dobrý deň.
Dobrý deň.
Zdravím vás. A je to neuveriteľne perfektné, že máme možnosť teda sa pozrieť aj do vesmíru, lebo okrem iných, viete, čo by nám pán Brichta mohol pomôcť zodpovedať, akú otázku, ktorá na Slovensku v roku 2024 není úplne jasné, že je Zem gulatá?
Na to máme dáta.
Slovak Space Office, pán Michal Brichta, ďakujeme veľmi pekne.
I promised to the organizers I will speak in English, so I will try to keep this promise. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. The theme of the whole event is about future, so I will try somehow to connect this whole to the topic of future, which obviously isn't a hard job because we are talking about space. After today, you've heard a lot already, so the question to you, can we predict future? After all you've heard, after all you've seen, what do you think? Can we predict future? Somewhat, yes. I mean, we do small predictions every day. We do hundreds of small predictions every day. We see a person walking towards the stage. We predict that the session is about to start. We see the traffic lights going green. We predict the cars start moving. These are small predictions, but we also can do big predictions. So we can take a look how a planet was moving or a spacecraft was moving, and we can predict in which trajectory its journey continues. So we can do predictions, we just need the right data. And what is this data? It's really just looking into past. So the data really is just the past that we gathered. So really, when we want to see the future, we just need to take a look into the past. And when we want to take a look at what is the future in space exploration, we also need a little bit to venture to the past. So how did we get here? It's really a journey of reaching new horizons. Imagine that thousands of years, the humanity was simply walking on the ground. So yes, we could cross some rivers, we could cross some lakes, but most of the time we were just living on the hard surface, on the ground. It took us several thousands of years, before we could map, explore, connect oceans to our major living area, before we could make really oceans connected to our existential space, And ultimately, before we could connect oceans to where we create value, so to connect it to our economy. And today, we don't even think about it. Today, oceans are inseparable of everything what we do. Logistics, energy, food production, data channels. The same goes after. So after thousands of years on hard surface, we managed to cross the oceans, connect it, then several hundreds of years, the airspace. And the same story goes on and on again. So we managed to take off, we managed to include it into our existential space, and again, it gets connected to our everyday life, and it gets connected to our economy to the extent that we do not think about it as something external. And then we needed just a couple more decades to take off even further and to leave the Earth's atmosphere. So imagine this curve. So thousands of years, then hundreds of years, and now just decades. And we are in space. And this is again just new horizon. We crossed a new milestone. We reached a new milestone that is extending the area where we exist and is extending the area where we can create added value. But why do we go up? Why do we do something so difficult? Why do we do something so expensive? Many people say, we have so many problems here on Earth, so why do we go up? There are many reasons that we could talk about. We would need way more than 16 minutes that I see that I still have remaining. But the major three ones could be somehow accumulated as the curiosity. We are curious animals. We are really curious species that want to know. We want to push the boundary. We want to explore what is out there. We want to push the boundaries of what is possible. Then it's the inspiration. We want to lead by example, we want to show that it's possible. We want to show that we are capable of achieving something. And third, it's the resources. And that's very interesting, man. So yes, it's the curiosity, yes, it's the inspiration and sense of leadership, but after all, the resources, what makes us really stay in these new environments, and what makes us connected to our areas of existence and creation of added value. You perhaps thought when you saw resources connected to space, you maybe started thinking about the mining on the moon or mining on comets. We might get there. It's probably part of the future. But right now, the resources is the data. Is the data that the satellites are sending to us and the signal that satellites is producing. That is really a tremendous resource for the 21st century, data-driven and knowledge-driven economy and our everyday existence. And what can we do with these resources? So what do we do with them? There is a lot for us as individuals. So who here is using satellites on a daily basis? That's a nice answer already, yes? I will change the question. Who here is using navigation, weather forecast, or some delivery services on a daily basis? A bit more. Yes, great. So that's pretty much it. So there is so much that these technologies are helping us on a daily basis, us as individuals already, that sometimes we don't even know. Similarly, there is a huge effect that these technologies have on economy across the sectors. Just like the logistics, as I mentioned, the transportation, the navigation, it's not just about cars. Without satellite technology, combination of mapping services and the navigation services, the transportation would be heavily affected, and in many cases, even impossible. And that's the road transportation, that's the railroad transportation, aeronautics, obviously, as well as the maritime. So all kinds of means that for us in 21st century can get us from point A to point B. Obviously, same is the logistics. And we can go on and on and on here. That's the sector of energy with precision forecasting. That's the sector of the mentioned meteorological services that are so important across the planet. That's the sector of critical infrastructure. That's the sector of banking even, agriculture and forestry. There is very little human-led activities and very little sectors that are not heavily affected by the satellite technology and could easily survive without it. Next is the environmental impact and environmental importance. So the majority of data actually we have today about climate and about our planet is collected by satellites. It's obviously combined also with terrestrial sources, but without satellites, we would know way less about what's going on with the planet, what's going on with the climate, what's going on with natural wildlife, what's going on with habitats. All these information are supported by the satellites. And last but not least, of course, the society and its security, the security of critical infrastructure, where also about 50% of all the critical infrastructure in the world is heavily dependent on the data from satellites, and also the monitoring and mapping of the borders, monitoring and mapping of the important logistical points on Earth that need really to be secure and need to be safe and sustainably carried. So these are really the points where we are using satellites today, and we know that this is just the beginning, really. This is just the beginning because we are, as humanity, just starting to really understand how to create the added value out of this data. We are on this very start, like when I get back to the metaphor with maritime exploration and with taking off to the skies. We are really in the time when we are taking the first step from the exploratory part to the part where we really know what we can do here, and we really know how to utilize this new area that we expanded to. So what comes next? On a really short time scale, we know that all these areas that I was talking about and the satellite data importance is going to be increasing. And that's mainly because of the decreasing cost of access to space, but also because of the broadening of the markets that are being created using these data. But that's just, of course, the beginning. We are still continuing our journey on broadening the horizons. We will still be continuing with the pretty much same set of motivation factors. So despite the fact that we are already there in the point 3 with ability to collect the resources, in this case, the data, we will continue, and the previous video was a great example of that, we will continue to be curious. We will continue to be also driven by the knowledge desire, the James Webb Space Telescope, literally looking into the history of our universe, or the mission JUICE, which is on its journey to the Jupiter icy moons, by the way, with Slovak presence on board. Exactly the Slovak Academy of Sciences being involved in this activity. And the mission can be a breakthrough. It can help us understand whether it is possible to find areas here in the solar system that could sustain life. And it's also the inspiration that will be continuing driving us further with such bold missions like the Artemis mission, where also there is a huge possibility of collaboration, and also there is possibility for countries like Slovakia with joining this bold and ambitious group of countries just a couple months ago. And we continue to be motivated also by the resources, obviously. And it's not necessarily just the data. We know that in the future, we will be planning to go further. We will be planning to see what is possible to do in orbit, to be possible to explore the production in the orbit, to explore the ways how we can utilize the zero-G in the orbit for pharmaceutical needs or for the needs of other industries. And we will be venturing step by step also further towards the moon, towards the Mars. And there are, in each of these categories, there are companies and institutions, even in some small countries like Slovakia, which are taking their steps, which are getting involved, even in such bold areas. Like, for example, recently there is one company called AmCham Solutions that was awarded a fascinating project together with a German space agency, DLR, that is assessing and developing the means how we can actually navigate drones on other celestial bodies like Moon or Mars. So it's a really example that no matter how bold the curiosity, the inspiration drive, or the resources desire we have, there is always possibility here in the upcoming time of space exploration for even smaller countries. And how can we achieve that? Now, this is a very tough question because yes, we can do some predictions. We can do predictions with the data that we have, and this is a very complex one. But I know for certain one aspect that is necessarily needed for us to achieve this goal. Without that, it's really literally impossible, and that's the collaboration. Because space is so complex, so expensive, and still such a challenge that it does not really make a lot of sense to do something just on a local level. That's why even the largest players like the United States with the Artemis mission are really trying to attract foreign international partners. That's why such platforms like European Space Agency are so important to pooling the resources together, to pooling the talent together, to really achieve some common goals. And that's really a reason why these kind of collaboration platforms are important for all the kinds of countries, including Slovakia, where we see a growing drive of the companies. We see growing number of companies involved, getting basically to 50 companies active in one aspect or other of space economy today, ranging from satellite hardware to space safety ensuring, up to the variety of areas, how we can utilize the data from satellites here on Earth today. All these aspects, all these capabilities that's been creating here in the country over the past years, being laid on the grounds of actually decades of R&D experience, ranging from early 70s. This is something what our country has to offer for such collaboration, and this is something that we are really looking forward to building upon, together with partners from United States, together with partners from European Space Agency, and with the contribution of our own to really make sure that even if we sometimes cannot exactly predict the future, we will be able to co-create it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Michal, ďakujeme veľmi pekne. Ďakujem. Takže toto bola posledná prezentácia dnešného digitálneho transformačného dňa. Teraz sa môžeme priznať, že prečo máme polhodinové meškanie. Vlak z Prahy to bol, len aby ste vedeli. Takže čo vás ešte čaká? Kto má chuť a čas, do 8:00 na druhom poschodí pokračuje minicinema s dokumentami, ktoré som vám predstavila ráno. Stále môžete ísť na zmrzlinu, stále môžete ísť na dobré čapované pivko. Tí, čo ste zaregistrovaní na ukrajinský workshop, Reconstruction of the Ukraine, začalo to, ale kapacita je dosť plná, takže sa poponáhľajte. No a to je asi všetko na dnes a tešíme sa na zajtrajší Future of Health a klimatické zmeny. Ďakujeme veľmi pekne. Pardon, zabudla som na jednu veľmi dôležitú vec. Zorka Frešová, kde sa nachádzaš? Zora, naša mladá kolegyňa, ktorá je študentkou a doktorantkou Univerzity Komenského, je manažérkou dnešného dňa. Takže ja vás poprosím o jeden obrovský potlesk za to, čo sa jej dneska podarilo. Ďakujeme veľmi pekne. Ďakujem.